All right, people, we are back with the preview. Actually, it's not a preview. We're smack bang in the middle of the fifth and final test. And I have to admit that this has been one of the most boring displays of Aussie cricket. England scored 284 in 50 odd overs. Kind of like the good old days of one-day cricket. They scored at about 5.4 runs and over. Australia in return scored more or less the same amount of runs in twice as many overs, 104 overs. And Jonno, you were sending me a lot of messages yesterday. Obviously, you were like, oh, Australia's not planning to lose any wickets. But then I said, no, hang on a second. If you keep playing like this is negative form of cricket. And as a result, we saw Australia lost a lot of wickets in quick succession. And in the end, Australia just barely got over the line. Tell me about it. How bored were you? Obviously, Piers Morgan, I know you don't like him. He was trolling the Aussies, and rightfully so, that this was one of the most boring displays of batting. How do you find it?
Yeah, it was mind-numbing stuff. I think Marnus was it 9 from 82 balls, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really dull. And it's one of those days where I'm really glad that I didn't pay for a ticket to go watch it, because I would have been really disappointed with that. The only reason I can think that Australia took that approach in the morning session was to try and tire the bowlers out, try and get a few more overs in those legs and go at them hard later in the day. They tired them out, but the middle order didn't exactly go through them. And in the end, they haven't really, while they caught up to England, thanks to Cummins and Murphy putting on some runs later in the day, it was a really disappointing display from the Australian batsmen. England bowled very well, like tight lines, didn't concede many runs, especially in that morning session, but the attacking intent wasn't there. And then when Wood picks up Marnus just before lunch, and then Broad gets, I think it's Broad got Quadra, all of a sudden, it seems like it's just a waste of time for everyone involved. We know that Australia don't need to win this game to win the series 2-1. They can draw this game and win the series 2-1. So I think that is in their minds, or was in their minds yesterday. I think Smith went an entire session without hitting a boundary. Like, how often has that ever happened in his career? I'm assuming you didn't particularly find that first session, or even the second session, particularly riveting from the Australian batting point of view.
No, the main problem, and again, I have to keep saying it, and I think this is Pat Cummins' very un-Australian way of captaincy. And it's surprising to see that even, obviously, Steve Smith is his deputy. He's not the captain. And even Steve Smith would have learned from Captain Clark. Australia never plays for a draw, especially on the second day. Like, you can't go for a draw from the second day of a test match saying that, oh, that's all we need. That's a very negative way of playing cricket. This is not the Australian brand of cricket. Yes, I get it. You don't want to match English firepower. You don't want to play as aggressively as that, because that at times it could be reckless, because yes, they scored at 5.4 and over, but they got all out on 283 or whatever. In the fourth test, I think fourth test is the only test where we've seen them maintain that high scoring rate for how many did they get? 580 or whatever.
Yeah.
That it doesn't happen every day, but when it happens, it's whoa, that totally demoralizes. So maybe that innings was in their mind that we're going to take as much time out of the game and then we'll slow and steady. No, slow and steady in test matches means about 3 runs and over, not 2 runs and over. 2 runs and over 100 overs. It's very bad. I don't know. I think Pat Cummins' captaincy, I'm sorry, I'm not impressed at all. I've never seen, I've been watching Australian cricket, obviously, since the days of Mark Taylor and then Steve Waugh, Ponting, Clark, Steve Smith, and now this one. Never seen anything like that. And people say that before Mark Taylor, obviously, Alan Border's captaincy was also very aggressive. So this is not an Australian brand of cricket, especially knowing that Pat Cummins is a fast bowler. I don't know. I'm actually not impressed. So I actually wouldn't be surprised that if England fires back, we got to remember pressure is going to be on Australia because they'll be batting last. Because right now it's even Stevens. Yeah, it's anyone's game. Like, okay, in terms of runs, with plenty of time left in the game. So I think it's going to be very interesting, and I wouldn't be surprised that if England makes a comeback and then put all the pressure back on Australia and give them a target of 300 to chase, batting last. I don't think that's going to be easy, especially with that mindset, with that defensive mindset. Unless you have a comment on that, I want to move on to the next topic of Murphy, which is actually a rear guard action from the Aussies. Because at one point it looked like, well, you might not even get close. Like Australia was like 100 runs.
They 187 for 7, I think they were.
Yeah. So, yeah, Murphy kind of saved them. I think they put on 50 runs, 49, 50 runs together.
Yeah, I think it was about a 50 partnership. Yeah, and Cummins had come in after Stark had got out playing that hideous pull shot.
Hook shot,
pardon me. But it was looking like Steve Smith might get stranded because he was the only one who was actually batting with any fluency. Sure, he didn't score boundaries for a while, but once we passed T, Smith needed to get a move on. So Cummins comes in and plays fairly sensible innings. We have the not run out, which is controversial in some circles, but I think the right decision was reached there. And then, Smith gets out and Murphy comes in. And I think when he batted in Headingley, I think he might have hit a 6 and then maybe got out for 12 or something like that. And no one's really, certainly England won't have seen him bat much at all. So when Mark Wood runs in, bowls him a bouncer, and he plays fairly good looking hook or pull shot, can't remember which one, that sails away for 6. You'd think, okay, this guy's got some decent shots in his locker. Maybe let's put away the short ball so he doesn't have that shot available to him anymore. But England kept peppering him with the short ball, and they got the same result. Mark Wood got hit for 3 6s. And Murphy, all of a sudden, looks $1 million. England did eventually stop bowling short to him, and when he went after it, got out. Cummins also started playing a few shots, and that going from 187 to, I think it was at 290, maybe 298 they got to. That's huge in the context of this game, because England were right on top of Australia. Australia should have been so far ahead, because traditionally the second day is the day you bat at the Oval, certainly in modern times. So Australia, the deck wasn't doing much, so they needed to be scoring runs. So to leave it down to their tail enders to do is really disappointing. And I saw a comparison. I can't remember who made it, but someone suggested that Todd Murphy could be the new Steve Smith, in that when Smith started his career in the Australian side, he was a spinner. Yeah, he was batting at 8 or 9 down the order, and over the years became a batter who barely bowls spin anymore. Might bowl a couple of overs in this series, but
a rated 1 batter. And what a batter.
Exactly. Yeah, he is when you think of Australian batsmen of recent times, he is your go-to guy. So, I saw someone just suggest that perhaps Todd Murphy could be on the same trajectory. I don't know. What did you think watching him?
It's a big call. He made, 30-odd? That's the first time I've actually seen him bat. Steve Smith, he's defied logic. He still bats like he's a tail-ender who doesn't know what he's doing, but obviously there's method to that madness, and he's proven everyone wrong. It's unorthodox. But so looking at him, nobody thought that he's going to be able to achieve what he has achieved consistently over what now has been around 13, 14 years since he's been playing. So I don't know, early days for Todd Murphy. I don't know. I reckon it's always going to happen. Whenever we're going to see a spinner do well with the bat, then we love to draw comparisons. We love doing that. So we're going to do that. So I don't know. I'll hold my judgment. Moving forward, what do you think is going to be England's approach? Is there going to be any change? Because now they're going to be thinking, okay, we dodged the bullet. We didn't put on a lot of runs. We didn't let Australia get out of hand. Again, I don't think the caution to the wind, it's not in their vocabulary anymore. If anything, they're going to double down on this aggressive brand of cricket. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. There's still 3 days to go in this test, but that won't matter to England. They are dogmatic in their approach certainly to batting these days. They will go out and look to do exactly what they have done in every game this series and every game since Stokes took over captain, which is to score runs quickly. Be aggressive, but as long as you keep that strike rate and the run rate in the 5s, then they will be happy. They will look to bat at least until half an hour before the end of the day. This is where the match will be decided, though. The match won't be decided on whether or not England get Australia out or not. It will be how many runs England can get today. England will want at least 350. But obviously with 2 days to go in the tests, and also let's not forget, their spinner, Moeen Ali, he's injured. He can't bowl anymore. it's doubtful whether he'll bat or not. So they're a batter and bowler down, which made it even worse for the bowlers yesterday, who had to bowl long spells and were rotated, but they had to bowl a lot of overs because Moeen Ali wasn't there to tie up an end for half an hour or an hour. Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett will come out and look to score quickly, as they have done throughout the series, and then England will be looking to the middle order to get quick runs. It's the last time we'll see England bat, and I feel bad saying this, but I don't think they'll be able to bat the day out. Australia look a completely, when they bowled in the first innings, looked a completely different team to the team that got flogged around at Old Trafford last week. Cummins in particular bowled an amazing spell in that first session. While Stark picked up the most wickets, it was Cummins running in, leading by example, and just bowled a ferocious spell. If Australia can do that again, England won't make it. The way they bat, they won't make it until the end of the day. So yeah, England.
But that's 90 overs. If England play for 90 overs with that run rate, who knows? Sorry, finish your thought. I've got next.
I was going to say it's not really 90 overs in this day and age. It's more 82, 81 overs because of the over rate.
Okay, so the Ashes have a history of destroying or ending captaincies, at least. No matter how big you are, if you lose, obviously everything is looked at. And success has many fathers and failure has none. And the whole of Ashes is still hanging by a thread. Okay, England can't win this Ashes, but they certainly haven't lost it. Ignoring the part that Australia can retain that. But of course, England want to win this test match. And it's all come down to, all the preceding 23 or 22 days, it's all come down to this now, as you said. How many runs can England get? That's all it comes down to. If England can get 350, 400 runs, I think, you'd put your money on England. But having said that, what if you become reckless? You put only 250 runs because you are so dogmatic in your approach. And you're saying, no, this is the only way we know. We're going to live by the sword. We're going to die by the sword. And then I'm just worried that maybe the gamble doesn't play out the way you want it to this time. And as a result, what could be the consequences of England losing the Ashes by 3-1?
I don't think won't care. If England do go on to lose this test match, Stokes won't be too concerned. He'll be happy with the way his team have played. He'll be happy with... He keeps talking about the entertainment value and putting bums on seats. Just a quick aside on that, the Ashes always sells out in the UK, so there's never any risk of not putting bums on seats. It's the only test series that will sell out every venue. But no, so I don't think, if England are to lose the series 3-1, I don't think there will be many people calling for Stokes' head on the plate. Should he be fired as captain? I don't think so. One, let's not forget we're playing a very good Australia side who just 5 or 6 weeks ago won the World Test Championship. And likewise as well, if England do go on to win this match, it's 2-all series, there will be many, particularly in the Murdoch press, I imagine, who will be calling for Pat Cummins to be sacked as captain, which is just absolutely ludicrous. Sure, they were 2-0 up and have let themselves down to be in this position now. They're still in a position to win it, but if they do lose and it's 2-all, it will be viewed as a loss, even though they've retained the Ashes from such a strong position to not see the series through. You've been very critical of Pat Cummins' captaincy throughout the series about how defensive he is. He's not been like that previously. He's normally a relatively attacking captain, and he has that bowler's mentality. Certainly against the West Indies and South Africa last year in Australia, I think pretty much every decision he took as captain came off. But yet they were weak West Indies and South African sides. As a captain, he did very well. I think this idea of the batsball thing we saw from the start of the series, setting defensive fields, is that the right call? They won the first 2 games, so there's some logic to it. But yeah, if Australia do lose this test, Cummins will stay on, and so he should, because normally he's a good captain. but there will be a lot of clamoring and a lot of arguments online about his status as captain, and there shouldn't be.
I'm not the only one. I think I've heard Ian Healy also talk about it, his captaincy, and I'm sure other people are going to mention that too. But it's very interesting that you said that even Ben Stokes will keep his spot, and even if he lost, I didn't think that Pat Cummins would be in trouble either because he hasn't lost. But it's so cruel if England loses this Test match because they could potentially go from 2-2 to 3-1. 3-1 looks really bad. What about this online chatter that people are saying that, oh, we should have been 2-2 already, and then we should have been 3-1? Why have the Poms just not stopped whinging and just focus on the game rather than it was a rain, it was a Johnny Bairstow run out? What's going on, mate?
Yeah, so there's a few things here, and it's one of the things that really annoys me. Last night when I was staying up watching the cricket,
Are you telling me you're ashamed to be a whinging Pom?
I like to think that I'm not a whinging Pom, but certainly
No, you're not.
But no, last night I was staying up having a few of the old bottles of beer, and I've got the Ashes WhatsApp group, and one of my friends said, "Oh, England should be winning this series 4-1," and I used some very derogatory language towards him for suggesting that notion. There's this idea of the moral Ashes that England are somehow winning this series. They're not. They're 2-1 down. Yeah. They lost at Edgbaston, first game of the series. Right? Cummins and Lyon saved that match for Australia. England were close to winning, but they didn't win. They didn't get those wickets when they needed to. Lords, Australia had the edge on England most of the way through the test. The Bairstow stumping happens, and everyone loses their collective minds about something that was perfectly legitimate. Say, oh, England didn't really lose that one. It was Bairstow was stumped when he was clearly at the end of the over. So yeah, that's another one for England there. We won at Headingley, so no problems there. And then the rain stops us at Manchester. Oh, so yeah, technically we're 3-1 up already.
Wow.
And it just
the lengths they would go to.
It irks me so much that cricket games are not won or lost on could have beens or should have. Cricket games are won and lost on what happens on the field. And there are 22 players going hell for leather. And at the end of the day, Australia have retained the Ashes because they have legitimately won games.
And sometimes you need a bit of luck. The way England won the World Cup, that was the first time England won an ICC World Cup. And if the ball hadn't deflected off Ben Stokes' bat, then who would have known? So it's just
it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? I don't remember many people at the time I do remember there was a certain contingent online who were furious. That was the way that England have been able to get to the Super Over. England still had to win that Super Over, but yeah, it just swings. Like sometimes these things happen in your favour, sometimes they don't. It's the exact same with DRS review and its umpire's call. If the umpire on field hasn't given it out and its umpire's call, well, tough luck.
Even before the DRS.
But you go again.
Even before the DRS.
Even more so, isn't it? Yeah.
We used to factor it in. God, the umpire decision didn't go in our favour. Damn it, we lost because of the bloody umpire. But that's all part of the game. And how many matches do we remember that it was because of that umpire? No, at the end, as you said, what matters is what the final scoreline is. That's what it matters.
And actually, I think it's worth pointing out as well that the players themselves have carried themselves very well. I know there's been the odd comment and stuff. Like Johnny Bairstow did a very fiery press conference last week after his 99.
So Stokes did it too, but I'm going to say Paddy Cummins, he might be defensive on the field, but he's actually off the field is pretty calm as well. What do you reckon?
Yeah, he's very calm, he's very intelligent, and yeah, he says things with a smile on his face. But yeah, it's good to see the players haven't cracked the shit. Harmanpreet Kaur did in that game against Bangladesh last week. I don't know if you saw that. She was given out and smashed her stumps, walked off, shouting at the umpire. And then because Bangladesh had tied the series, when they did the trophy presentation at the end, Harmanpreet Kaur was shouting out that it shouldn't be the Bangladeshi captain who's on stage. It should be the umpires who are up there receiving the trophy.
Right.
Which, it's absolutely
that's a bit harsh, though. Yeah,
it's absolutely disgusting behaviour. I think she was fined 75% of her match fee.
Is that all?
But then,
we can't even
the
show
ICC,
dissent. You can be literally suspended. You can get a ban.
yeah, no, she is absolutely bringing the game into disrepute, and I
Mm.
think the ICC did actually end up applying a 2-match ban which is just that's nowhere near enough. And you have to wonder if it was a player from a different nation, would the ban have been stronger? Just with the reach of the BCCI into the ICC. Anyway, going massively off track. I just wanted to say that I thought the players, in terms of their interviews and how they conduct themselves, have done really well as all this madness is going on around them.
Right. All right, folks, this is it. Thank you for joining in. We'll definitely be back after the match has finished. So thanks for joining. Until next time, ta-da.